We'll discuss about public relations and publicity. This is an IMC. If you would recall and look back into your syllabus, public relations and publicity is very much part of it, and it is part of IMC program. IMC is integrated marketing communication. We have talked that there are many elements of integrated marketing communications, and one of those elements is public relations and publicity. Because of the relation and the proximity public relations and publicity shares with each other, we treat both of them as to be equivalent to each other. So let us begin our discussion on public relations and publicity. This is how public relations is defined. Text says that it is a management function which uh, evaluates the public attitudes and identifies the policies and procedures of an organization with the public interest and execute a program of action to earn public understanding and acceptance. If we would look at this definition, uh, we would realize that uh, it is about evaluating public attitudes. It is about identification of policies and procedures of an organization can be any brand, uh, and these policies, these procedures would be identified so as to generate interest in public, and hence this policy is then executed in the form of an action plan so that public understand it and accept it. So now what we are eventually looking at is that it is about having a favorable image in the mind of the general public at large. So we are not talking of only your stakeholders, but we are also talking of anyone whosoever who can potentially have an influence on your ability of doing business. So, first of all, before going ahead, let us look at one more thing which is important. If you would look at public relations, it is made up of two terms. Relations we understand, then is public. So, what is public? I mean, it is about maintaining relations with this public. Now, the question is, who are this public? If we have to look at the way public is understood in marketing, we would talk of public as to be any individual, organization, or group of people who have direct and indirect influence on our ability of doing business. Which means if you are into some business and I am into some business, if anyone, he may not be my direct stakeholder, he may not be my direct customer, he may not be my direct supplier, he may not be my direct distributor, but can he still influence my ability of doing business? The way we look at it in public relation is yes, it can influence. And when it can influence, then we have to be taking care of these people also. And in that context, we have to maintain relationship with them. And that is something that is called as public relations. Relating, accepting that all the people have ability, irrespective of whether they are our customers, they are our stakeholders, they all of them have some influence on our ability of doing business, and to maintain relationship with them is public relations. So what do we do when we talk of public relations? We first of all determine and evaluate the public attitudes, so which means uh, how public at large is looking at you as a company. So maybe that you are having negative sentiments in consumers mind, in the public mind, into the stakeholders mind, in the general public mind. So that needs to be evaluated, because the relations are maintained so that people can accept us, they can understand us, right? So first of all, let us know if there is something wrong in this, then we actually can kind of treat it, and we can kind of control it, and we can attempt to do it in a better way. Second point is identification of policies and procedures of organization with public interest. So how what we can do, because here we were talking about uh, doing all those actions which can make the people to understand us and accept us. So in that context, we have to identify the policies and procedures which we can perhaps do, and this is written here also, which is policies. Then the third thing is to develop and execute a communication program which is designed to bring about public understanding and acceptance. Right. So this is how we can kind of do it. So this is basic understanding of what is public relations. Public relations is not a new thing. The idea of maintaining relationship with the people at large is something which has been in existence since long. And if we would look at the way the public relation would be understood in earlier times, we would talk of that big companies would have a public relations department, and this public relations department is responsible for maintaining the relationship with all the stakeholders. And the stakeholders are the people with whom you are in direct touch, you are in direct contact. So they can be customers, they can be investors, they can be government, they can be employees, they can be suppliers, and they can be community, right? So maintaining the relationship who are in direct kind of contact with you, this is how we would look at the PR perspective. And of late we have started including the community also, who may not be directly part of your business, but they might impact your ability of doing business, right? So the community was also included. So this is how we look at the public relations. But with time, we have actually started looking at public relation as to be a very important function which can help us in marketing also, and hence the term came, which is marketing public relation functions. So which means, can we use public relations for marketing also, right? So now we need to look at Thomas L. Harris in this context. Thomas L. Harris was of the opinion that PR activities, public relation activities, can be designed in such a way that they not only try to maintain relationship with customers or the stakeholders or the community at large, but they should also support the marketing objective. And if you can do that, you can talk of marketing public relations, which is MPR, and this is what is written here. So invariably, what we are talking here is, when public relations, in addition to maintaining the relationship with the people, is used to support the marketing objectives also. Now, for example, you might be having marketing objectives to increase your market share. So you do not only do those activities which end up in maintaining the relationship with the people, but you also have such activities in your kitty which can further influence the consumer to not only feel favorably about this company, but to also have uh, the influence, also being persuaded to be part of that company in terms of the customers. So when we talk of NPR, NPR talks of many activities, and some of these activities has already been there and has already been recorded. This is not a new thing. Now, for instance, uh, one of the events that we have seen already when we talk of NPR is about building excitement before media advertising takes, before advertising comes in, before you officially start talking about it. You do plan something which actually not only speak about who you are, not only you try to maintain relationship with the people, but you also use it for your marketing purpose. For example, Apple did for iPad. If you would go back and if you would look at Apple, the way they have launched their products, you would realize that they do event launching. So we would only see such event launchings in case of some high involved products like cars. So you would see whenever a car is launched, so the executives of the company would come and it is a glaring event, and then it is getting reported by the media. So we have also seen it for some other type of products, like the electronic products, like the even the phones. Apple has started doing it, right? So this is how we can talk of MPR. This is how we can talk of This is how we can talk of this thing being used, and marketing, public relations being used for the marketing purpose also. Second thing is that if it is able to do that, obviously it can contribute to the ROI also. It can contribute to return on investment. uh, it can create advertising news if public relations is used for marketing purpose when there is no product news, when and specifically it is talked about in case of new products, right? It is in case of new products. So when a product is new, you need to have something in the market about this, so you need to have some information about this. So you actually can talk of public relations activities being used to generate this news, which can be called as advertising news, or in general terms you can also talk it as information being produced. Now, for instance, Macintosh, when it was introduced in 1984, they have come up with this advertising which became so popular, and everyone in the media has started talking about it. So this is like before the product has come, there is a lot of talk around this product in the market, and you can plan it in such a way that it become viral. So even the viral marketing is considered as one of the strategy which can be adopted by the marketers. Another example of PR being used for marketing purposes is to push a product or to introduce a product with little or no advertising, right? So this also, the PR activities can actually help you in getting a product into the market. So I've already discussed this thing that Apple launches their product during an event. And then influencing the influential opinion leaders. We have already talked about opinion leaders in consumer behavior. So we can provide information to opinion leaders also, and through these events maintain a relationship with them, and these people can further influence other people, right? So this is marketing public relation functions. Now this is an ad basically which talks of how Apple has introduced Macintosh. Have a look at this ad.
Today we celebrate the first glorious anniversary of the Information Purification Directives. It was created with the first time in all history, a garden of pure ideology, where each worker may bloom, secure from the pests of a contradictory thoughts. The force is more powerful a weapon than any fleet or army on earth. We are one people, with one will, one resolve, one cause. Our enemies shall talk themselves to death, and we will ride them with their own confusion. We shall prevail.
On January 24th, Apple Computer will introduce Macintosh. And you'll see why 1984 won't be like 1984.
So when Apple have come up with this commercial, they were saying that will introduce the Apple Macintosh. So the product was not kind of introduced, and they have kind of talked about this so much that people, even before the product has come into the market, they knew that there is something which is about to come. Okay, so then we can talk about the process of public relations. So that would encompass some stages, and these stages could be determining and evaluating the public attitudes. So we have already talked about this, and then establishing a PR plan. What plan do we have, and then establishing and executing the plan, and then effectiveness, the all four steps which we have already discussed in the previous slides. So now the first step, which is determining and evaluating the public attitudes, how people are currently looking at your firm as. Do they have a favorable, positive attitude or not? So you need to have this study of attitudes, and you know that the research is the way out. You can try to understand the people, how they can how they can be influenced, and before doing that you should know that what currently they have in their mind, right? So how does it help if you can look at the attitudes, current attitudes of the people, because it will provide the input into the planning process, because using this you can plan the things. It serves as an early warning system, because you know that how the people are looking at you, and now because you can understand the mind, the perception of the consumers or the other stakeholders about who you are, you actually can get the early warning systems if there are any, right? And then the other things being that it supports you internally and it increases the effectiveness of the communication because you are doing communication on some basis. It is not a open and plain communication. Then let us quickly talk of the establishment of PR plan. We can define a public relation plan. These are the steps. We can define public relation problems, plan and program, take action, communicate, and evaluate the program. So these are the steps that the text speaks about when you are establishing a public relations plan. Now, let us look at the development and execution of the PR program, public relations program. First of all, the public relations program has to be for some target audience. You need to know who your target audience are, and these target audience can be your internal audience, employees, stakeholders, investors, suppliers, and current customers, right? And very important because we have been speaking about this since the beginning that the P in public relations speaks of public, and this public are or can be the external audience. So we can talk of also public at large and the media and the educators, or these can be influencers, or these can be opinion leaders, or these can be the other people, right? So the idea is not only to be considerate about these people, but it is also about taking care of these people, right? This is the larger objective that uh, we can actually kind of think of. So this is important in a PR thing. You should actually be determining the relevant target audience. So if you know who are your audience, can better target them, and at the same time you have to be conscious about the external audience also, because that is a larger perspective, right? To That is a larger perspective to look at the things. PR program is not only about internal audience, right? Then we can invariably think of implementation of the programs, and that can be the program can be implemented by using some PR tools, and these tools can be the press release, the press conferences. You would have heard all these terms, but it is a very quick and bird-eye discussion on to what is PR. Exclusives, wherein the exclusive information is provided, interviews, internet and social networks, and blogs. So all these things can be used to maintain the relationship, to speak to the people, to let them know what we are thinking about them. And these are considered as PR tools. So what we are talking here is that using these tools, using these formats, using these vehicles, using these mediums, and using these methods, we can actually try to speak to the people, and we can let them know what we are doing, and hence we can maintain better relationship with them, right? This is how we look at PR tools, and we launch the things through these tools only, or we maintain the relationship, or we communicate to the people through these things only. So, for example, let us look at this, the way Steve Jobs would launch the things. 7 ways to build buzz for your next product launch. So, he is of the opinion that you have to put the focus on the people, not the product. And when he is putting focus on the people, he is actually talking of the relations. He is not talking of only the products, right? He is talking of the relations. So, your focus has to be on people. Get opinion leaders on board early, very important, and that is where when you are organizing these events, the opinion leaders are maybe part of this event, right? Be revolutionary, so which means do something which has not been done early and the before and traditionally. Turn your product launch into an event. Was such a wonderful thing, and that is what we have been talking about since we have started discussing this. Release a product that consumer would like to show off, and that is where the consumer's acceptance about your product is concerned, right? So if a consumer has a better image, is a better relationship with your brand, they might be having they might be thinking or investing in you to the extent that they would like to show off this product, and they would feel proud because they are consuming this product, right? And you can also think of drawing out the suspense as long as possible, so which means the teaser advertising that we have already talked about. So these are the things that the Apple man thinks about, that this is how you can create a buzz and you can make the people talk about you and you can make the people to have favorable impression about your brand at large, and these all can be kind of done. This is one of the clips which actually talks about how Apple would launch its product.
I'd like to talk about the iPhone. Now, there have been a lot of statistics floating around, market research, market share studies, and some of them are okay and some of them are questionable. And I'd like to just give you two pieces of data that can help you make your own judgments about market share. The first one is a report that just came out by Nielsen, highly respected firm. And this is for Q1 of 2010. This just came out. And they said, what is the smartphone market share in the US? Here's what they reported. RIM, number one with 35%.
So you can go and watch this video over YouTube. This video is available, but this is how the Steve Jobs would launch, and this is how the Apple has been able to generate the type of relationships. Because when you talk of brand is not only the usage of product, but brand is about a promise, and the promise is not a rational thing. Promise is your belief in the brand, that brand would give me this. And when you talk of this, you are talking of the type of relationship that you are sharing with the brand. And these activities, these tools can actually be used to generate and to make the people to feel that way. Because if you are taking the PR seriously, if you can use them, you are actually making yourself credible, you are saving cost, and you are actually avoiding the clutter, and you are breaking directly into the consumer's mind. And that can also help you in generation of the leads. So leads are the potential customers which you can convert them, and you can actually reach to specific group of people, and you also build your image. So all those things actually are something which the PR can actually let you experience. So this is how you can think of usage of PR, and this is what it can actually give you. So but there are some points which are worth discussing around that can create problems also, and these points are that it is PR is not considered as a complete communication process. It is just making the people to know about certain things about your product, and when you are letting them know, so they also feel that it is better, and the company is conscious that I should know about them. So that is okay, but when you talk of the communication process, the communication cycle, that is not complete uh, when you only talk of PR. And that is perhaps why when we talk of integrated marketing communication, you can actually think of PR being only one element of integrated marketing communication. So the other elements being advertising, direct marketing, personal selling, interactive marketing, public relations, publicity. So this is part of the entire gamut of integrated marketing communications. So this is how we kind of look at it. So PR, another thing that they say is that the PR efforts may not be associated with their sponsors in public mind. That is an important thing. So if how do you look at this statement is, now suppose if you are doing something which is for the betterment of the society at large. So if the people who are benefited, if the public who is benefited do not know who is doing it, so then you are not getting the mileage out of it. And that is how the word sponsor is used, right? So you as a company, when you are not able to associate yourself with the public's mind, letting them know this is me who is doing it, that is something that can be considered as a disadvantage of the PR. But if you would look at that today, nowadays, the brands and the companies have been able to kind of winning over this, because they have find out multiple ways by which they can reach to the people without facing this problem wherein the people do not identify who is doing this, right? So, how can we measure the effectiveness of PR? We can actually accept this, that measuring the effect of PR always has an advantage, or always has some benefits. And it is not only this that we can talk of that the measuring gives you advantage, but any of the activity in marketing, or in even in anywhere, even in any domain of the business, it is important that we can measure them, because the measurement has its own advantages. And one of the premium advantage of measurement of anything is that by measuring we can actually control it. By measuring we can actually know about the ROI. By measuring we can know that are we going right with our intended intentions or not, right? So it is always important to understand the measurement of any of the marketing activity that we talk about. So what could be the criteria of measurement? We can talk of whether target audience has received the message, has paid to attention to them, has understood the message, and has retained the message also. So this is how this is the criteria that your text says can be adopted in order to understand the effectiveness of PER. How do you do this? Media content analysis, which is about systematically and objectively identifying the characteristics of messages that appear in media. So, how the messages has been consumed by the people, and how and what meaning of those messages has been drawn by the people at large. So, this is what the media content analysis is about. You can also do survey research. We already had a course, full-length course onto survey research, which is business statistics and research methods, wherein we have talked about the quantitative assessments, and we have also talked about the qualitative assessments of the consumer's attitude towards the product and brand. So you run your PR program, and thereafter you can also do survey research. By and doing that, you would know whether the people have actually kind of we have some positive words about the company and the positive image about the company after this PR has been run. So this is little about PR, and now we can talk about publicity. Publicity, as we would all know, is the generation of news about a person, product, or service that appears in broadcast or print media anywhere. The idea is to have uh, news generated about the brand here. So when we say here a person or a product or a service, so we are talking of it in context of marketing. So when we say product, we say a brand. When we say a service, we say a brand. When we say a person, we also say a brand, right? So generating news about all these things is something that we talk of it in publicity. So some important points about publicity. They say publicity is a short-term strategy. It is a subset of public relations, and that is how you always see that publicity and public relations are taken together. Important to note, it is not always positive, because you might find that you can have the negative news also going about any brand, and that is why it is said that the publicity may not necessarily be positive. And they say it is often originates outside the firm. Having said that, having understood this very etymological perspective of publicity, we must also be accepting that today perhaps you would see that the marketers have started attempting to generate publicity within the firm. So here it is written outside the firm, but we can also see some attempts where the publicity has been attempted to be generated within the firm, right? So we would, and we might talk of many things. Some of them we have already discussed in class. What can publicity do to us? We know that the publicity has sheer power. We know that it can make or break a company. We remember that when Coke has faced this challenge, so Amir Khan has to come out loud and clear and to say that it is safe to drink Pepsi. And why they have come up with this communication is because they know that the publicity about Coke in the market is so wrong, and it's not only about Coke but about Pepsi also. It is going very wrong, so it can have a very devastating effect on your brand. Publicity is highly credible because generally publicity is seen as to be something who do not have a sponsor. So sponsor is who is doing this, right? And this is how we were actually looking at publicity in the beginning. So the company themselves are not doing it. So when you are not speaking about yourself, someone else is speaking about yourself. So that takes the credibility. So when someone else speaks about brand A and tell you and me that this brand is good, so you feel like that yes, it must be true because he whoever is speaking might not be having any intention, or he is not related with that company anyhow. So whatever he would be speaking out of his own neutral opinion. So that is why publicity is considered as highly credible. Consumers perceive publicity as more objective and place more confidence, and there are reasons for this which we have already discussed in this point. Publicity has news value, that is important. It has a news value, so news value would mean that you tend to believe it, and it is not just an information, it becomes a news. So that is how it is more powerful, it has more impact. You as a marketer might shoot advertising by taking best of the best celebrities on board, but when I as a consumer know that that this celebrity is taking money to speak some penned lines which were thought of and it's coming from an identified sponsor, so I might be skeptical about believing what is being said. So, but in publicity, it is said that it is not the case. It is a kind of a viral thing that goes out in the market, may not necessarily be the company themselves speaking about it. So that is how it is said that publicity has news value. When publicity becomes news, it is reported by media, right? So this is how it starts happening. So you do not speak about yourself, but then media speaks about it, and that is the publicity. Now, you know that this is just an example of how, this is just an example of how the Ramdev
The
has been
generation,
speaking about
disease and death.
certain
आजकल
products
आप एक
which
बहुत
has
शब्द
resulted
सुनते हैं,
into negative publicity
स्ट्रेस
about them.
बहुत है, स्ट्रेस बहुत है।
So
स्ट्रेस
if I
क्या है?
can,
बड़ा मथुरा वाले ठेके ठाके तो नहीं इधर, खूब है, ओ मौज। बताओ क्या करेंगे भगवान? हमने अच्छा क्या किस क्यों पीते क्यों? मैंने एक से पूछा इसमें स्वाद कैसा होता है, बोले बाबा पी के देख ले। मैंने कहा सब काम अपने आप करके नहीं देखने होते भाई, तू बता दे। बोले बाबा जी बताएं क्या, स्वाद तो मुझ जैसे होता है, फिर मूल का क्यों पीते हो भाई? बहुत बुरी हालत है लोग।
so these are some examples where the negative publicity is creating problems for some brands, right? So you can go onto YouTube and there are many such
पिछले
things.
दिनों कई लोगों ने मुझसे पूछा है कि इतने सारे विवादों के बावजूद मुझे कोको कोला पर विश्वास क्यों है, क्यों मैं अब तक उनके साथ हूं, क्या मुझे फिक्र नहीं कि मैं आपसे क्या पीने को कह रहा हूं? फिक्र है, बिल्कुल है, और इसीलिए पूरी तसल्ली करने के बाद ही मैं आपके सामने आया हूं। कोको कोला और उसमें प्रयोग होने वाले पदार्थ कुल मिलाकर 400 से भी ज्यादा क्वालिटी चेक से गुजरते हैं। इसमें इस्तेमाल होने वाला पानी 6 स्टेज फिल्टरेशन प्रोसेस से गुजरता है, एक नहीं दो नहीं, पूरे 6 स्टेज फिल्टरेशन प्रोसेस से। और यहां तक कि चीनी जो कोको कोला में यूज होती है उसे विशेष हॉट कार्बन ट्रीटमेंट से शुद्ध किया जाता है। आप जब चाहें कोको कोला।
These were some ads which were talking about publicity, what it can do to you, right? You know those ads. So publicity has sheer value, publicity has news value, publicity is credible, publicity can make or break the company. These are the things which we actually talk about in context of publicity. So we know that in context of publicity, we know that we talk of credibility, we talk of news value, we talk of significant word of mouth, and we talk of endorsement by the media when it becomes a news. So these are the good things that we talk about in case of publicity, right? So with this in place, I think we can talk of disadvantages also. They say that at times it becomes difficult to to control the message that is going out, that is going out in the market, and that also is a sort of publicity which can be a negative thing and which can impact your company also. So you would know that story of Amul which we have discussed many times. when Amul was actually having this big problem, when one of their consumers has posted something onto the Facebook wall saying that Amul is kind of providing such type of bad products, but later on it was found out that it was the problem with the consumer himself. So but that story has made some rounds. We also remember the Mother Dairy executives coming out loud and clear when Mother Dairy was also charged with all those things. So this is how when the things becomes out of control, then you have to handle them by taking care of certain things, and that is how the publicity takes that sheer value with itself, and you can then think of the power of it, that the company has to come loud and clear and to respond to the publicity which is going on about this product. So this is a very quick and a running discussion about publicity. I hope that this will help you in understanding it along. I have other videos also about publicity and public relations on my channel. You can also watch this, and I think at this point we can close this discussion. If you have any questions, you can let me know, and if not now, you can drop me a mail. You have my email ID, and we can discuss over it. And with this, I think we can close the discussion, and next time we will come up with a new topic which would actually help us in transgressing and advancing the discussion on integrated marketing communication. Thank you very much. It has been great to talk to you. Thank you.